Welcome to the Boulder City podcast. My guest today is Grant Turner, the owner of several establishments in town, including this one we're in, his new Skinny Bar in downtown Boulder City. Grant, thanks for joining us. I've really been looking forward to this.
Hey, thank you very much for the invite.
Absolutely. So, as I said, everybody knows your establishment, the Dillinger, the Forge, what a great place that is. And now you've got the Skinny Bar. They know about those establishments, but tell me about yourself. I mean, we don't really know your background. Where'd you come from? How you grew up and how'd you get into this business?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm a true Boulder City local, born and raised, born actually in the Boulder City Hospital, and I think I may be the very last person born in the Boulder City
So they
Hospital.
don't deliver in there anymore?
That I've never met anybody
Yeah.
that was born after me,
Right.
which makes you wonder
Right.
what happened.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm a true Boulder City local. I love it. I've moved around a little bit, but I found my way back here. Growing up, I thought of Boulder City as just it was
Boring.
it was boring. There's nothing to do. So if we wanted to go to a concert, if we wanted to go to the movie, pretty much anything,
Right.
we were going over the hill. So coming back to Boulder City, I started looking at other places to live after college, and then I thought, you know what? Why not bring it to me?
Yeah.
Everything I want in a city, rather than go find that elsewhere.
Right.
I started to really become attached to Boulder City and see its potential. So, started left my career in finance and went out on my own and became an entrepreneur. I originally started flipping houses, and then I bought the building that is now the Dillinger just to flip it.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with it. It was just,
Yeah.
it had really good bones. The walls are these really cool concrete panels.
Right.
It was a former bank. We found the vault, everything about it.
Yeah.
So we decided to keep it and build a restaurant. And that damn near killed me.
Yeah. Well, that's your first venture. So, we all know the restaurant business is tough, but it's almost tougher in the first thing you do. Tell us some of the steps you went through to get that in shape to open.
Oh my gosh. It was so brutal. So I think opening a restaurant in general is pretty difficult.
Sure. Right.
It's a really steep learning curve. And I had worked in restaurants, but I had been a busboy. I had been a dishwasher. I had never been in charge of. I'd never had a single employee.
Right.
Everyone I had worked with in construction, you've got contractors.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
They show up, they do their job, you pay them, they leave.
Right.
The employees don't leave.
Right.
They just keep coming back.
Right.
So, but in addition to that, I had a cash partner who. The dude had millions.
Yeah.
He was flush, and he was an awesome guy. I loved him, but he lost his money right during construction and didn't tell me. So,
oh my gosh,
we opened. He actually called me and said, "Hey, can I borrow some money?" And I'm like 20. I'm like 27 years old. I thought he was kidding.
Yeah.
I go, "That's funny. I was gonna just call you asking for 20 grand," and he said, "No, we're out."
Right.
So I opened the Dillinger. I maxed out every credit card I had just to buy the furniture, and then opened, and the first food order, the first payroll, everything, I had to sell burgers to pay it. So I opened on a shoestring, and it was rough.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I didn't know how to work the cash register.
Right.
I didn't know, at the end of the night, at the end of the first night, they go, "Hey, we want our tips."
Yeah.
And I didn't know, do I give them to you now? Do I put them on your paycheck? Do you tip pool? Do you tip out the kitchen? Every single thing, every procedure that we now have in place, we had to come up with on the fly.
Yeah.
So it was a tough couple years.
Sure. Absolutely.
But we survived.
Yeah.
And you know what they say, what doesn't kill you makes you bitter and resentful and hopefully eventually stronger.
Well, I was here when it opened, and we were thrilled that we had a great restaurant in town. It was comfortable to be at, kind of a sports bar-ish feel to it, and the food was great. The burgers, I mean, my son, what's that ultimate burger that you have? The
Dillinger burger. It's the bomb.
Right, that he had to eat, and he did it. But,
I will be eternally grateful for Boulder City residents because they kept the lights on there.
Yeah.
We had no money to market. We had no money for advertising. So we had to do a really good job. We had to give great food and great service and just pray that they came back.
Right.
And so for the first, yeah, probably 2 years, we survived strictly on locals. It
Sure.
was probably 80-20 locals. Now it's on a weekend, it's probably the exact
Yeah.
opposite.
Yeah.
People have found us and they just
Sure.
keep coming back,
Yeah.
and I feel so fortunate. I'm really grateful.
Yeah. No question. But it was a great theme as well. How'd you come up with the theme?
You want the real story?
Yeah.
Because the bullshit story is that you know, the space used to be a bank,
Right. Right.
and John Dillinger was a bank robber,
Right.
and John Dillinger got killed next to a theater or
Right.
outside a
Yeah.
theater,
Right.
and we got none of that's all just
Yeah.
kismet.
Yeah.
Really, one of my favorite bands is called the Dillinger Escape Plan,
Okay.
and so it was just a wink towards them. So everything we build, we do a little bit of, we hide some Easter eggs.
Right.
Forge is named after another group.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
that's the real story. The real story is it's just had to do with music.
Right.
I love
Yeah.
music, and
Yeah.
so I like to take inspiration from music.
Right. Well, I do that too. Whenever I write an article, I give it a headline that has kind of a reference to a song or something that I
Sure,
was
yeah,
thinking
yeah.
at the
I
time.
love it.
And I was like, yeah, that's a great thing to do. So, you also throw the block party, and you've been doing that for quite some time now.
Yes, sir.
Explain what the genesis of that was, and how difficult that was to really get underway.
Uh, there again, I had no money. I
Yeah.
just had zero money. So rather than spend money on marketing,
Hmm.
I thought I can throw a music festival.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a lot of, if I break even on it,
Sure.
then what I get is a ton of eyeballs. So it made sense to me. The fact that if it makes money, great. I'll take the money too, because I need it.
Right.
At the time, I wasn't paying my truck almost got repossessed.
Oh,
I wasn't
wow.
paying
Yeah.
my mortgage. The only thing I paid was my utilities
Yeah.
at my house,
Okay.
because I needed a place to shower, even though I was never home.
Right. Yeah.
Like literally, my average day at that time was 17 hours a day.
Yeah.
And sometimes I slept, even though I lived 2 blocks away, I slept at the Dillinger just because I'm like, I'm too tired to
Yeah. Right.
walk
Yeah.
those 2 blocks
Yeah.
twice. So yeah, we started the Dillinger Block Party really just to market the
Mhm.
Dillinger, but people love it.
Yeah.
So we keep it going. It's gotten bigger. This year we moved it to Halloween.
Saw that. Yeah. I was there.
I love it. Oh
Yeah.
man, the Halloween thing, because Halloween in Boulder City used to be really cool.
Right. Yeah.
Everywhere, all the bars would decorate.
Sure.
They would do costume contests, and it felt like it just sort of fell off.
Right.
So now I love Halloween.
Yeah.
So let's bring it back. And Tom Devlin's Monster Museum somehow in one day constructed a full haunted house
Right.
and then tore it down the next day.
Yeah.
And it was really cool, man. The actors were awesome.
Yeah.
It was a great experience. So
Oh, he's amazing. We've had him on the podcast before as well.
he's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Tom a lot. And his band played at
Okay.
the block party. It was
Right.
really cool. So it's evolved into, it's a family affair. So we do a dog show.
Uh-huh.
We lie and we say that it's the longest running dog show, and then it has the biggest grand prize,
Right.
1.2 million. So I like everything
Sure.
about the block party. I like the exaggerating and saying although I think it might be the longest running music festival. I think it's been going on longer than Life is Beautiful.
Yeah.
Or maybe
Yeah,
the
yeah,
same
sure.
amount of time, whatever
Right.
the case
Yeah.
is. So yeah, it's tradition, and people of Boulder City love it. So I'm going to keep doing it.
Sure. Yeah. That sounds good. So just going to be Halloween. You're not going to do it in the spring.
I think Halloween.
Yeah.
May, we were doing it the second
Right.
weekend in May.
Right.
It's still hot, man.
It is hot. Yeah.
It is
Right.
hot.
Yeah.
And part of it is we set everything up. I get there at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
and we set everything up, we run it, and then we're there all night long breaking it down.
Right. Yeah.
And we're happy to do it, but I would love to do it when it's double digits.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
The Halloween was very comfortable this year for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
And once a year, I think is plenty.
Yeah. No question.
Twice a year, I'm sure we could pack it. I'm sure
Right.
we could make it happen, but I think once is plenty.
Right. Right. Great. So let's talk about the Forge. That's kind of a special place, and you use it for special events. But it has a history behind it. Give us some of the history of it.
Yeah, the Forge, I love Forge. I think that's one of the more beautiful things we've ever built.
Yeah, I love it in there too.
I used to just go by this old stone house that was boarded up forever, and I would peek through the windows, and I'm like, oh man, this place is cool. So I just started writing letters to the owner saying,
Yeah.
hey, please sell me this building. I
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do with it. I liked it.
Sure.
And I found out that it was owned by two sisters. They had inherited it, but apparently they didn't get along, so they couldn't decide what to do with it.
Right.
And it was going to go to an auction, a probate
Uh-huh.
auction, a forest auction. And but I got one of their phone numbers, and I don't know how I did this. Just the universe, I
Yeah.
think, rewarded me for trying so hard. But I managed to reach out the day. I didn't even know when the auction. I knew nothing.
Yeah.
I managed to reach out the day before the auction where the two sisters had like sat down over a glass of wine
Yeah.
and come together and repaired their
Right.
relationship and just agreed to sell it to me.
Hmm.
They said, if you can bring me an offer prior to the auction. So I jumped in my truck, I ran to my friend's house who's got some money, and I
Yeah.
said, hey man, I need a cashier's check
Right.
right now. And he's like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's and then we took this old stone house, we gutted it, we ripped the back end of it off, we added on a bar, commercial kitchen, a
Mhm.
courtyard, and yeah, it's a really beautiful small, primarily wedding venue.
Right. Yeah.
We host all types of events, but weddings, I think, is the best use
Yeah.
of the space.
It's a perfect place for that. Yeah.
We just need more of them.
Yeah.
That's the
Right.
we spend so much time building
Yeah.
and operating.
Right.
We need somebody to come in and market the space
Yeah.
and bring us, so anybody out there, if you're in the business, bring us weddings, we'll pay you for it.
There you go. Yeah. You get a nice commission for bringing it
That's
in.
right,
Yeah.
man.
So, you also built another restaurant in the Best Western Motel, the Tap. It didn't work out that well, and even the subsequent owner hasn't worked out for her either. So what's the problem with that location?
It worked out great for us while we ran it.
Yeah,
The place was jumping.
yeah, I love.
It was a little bit more of a sports bar,
Right.
and we did the UFC fights were huge
Mhm.
there. The Vegas Golden Knights games were massive.
right.
Those always packed the
That
joint.
was the early years of the Golden Knights too. Yeah,
That was great. Yeah, it was the timing was perfect.
Right.
We did we did a really good business, and we enjoyed it. We did a open mic night there.
right.
Everything was cool. The place was jumping, but I started getting burnt out.
Right.
I felt like all I did was work, and at that time I was just about to propose to my girlfriend, who's
Okay.
now my wife.
Right.
We wanted to have a child who is now
Right.
we ended up having that child.
Right.
He's now almost 2. And we just had a little baby
Yeah, now you have
girl.
another one. Congratulations.
Hallelujah. Thank God. Yeah. So it felt to me like every time I was there, it was draining me.
Yeah,
And
sure.
it just started really feeling burdensome. I love the space, but
Yeah,
I was ready to move on. So we sold the business. The next owner kept it as the Tap.
right.
They have a tour bus company,
Hmm.
and they catered, I think, more to the tour buses than to the locals.
Right.
So the locals felt they weren't getting the best service there
Right.
anytime the buses would roll in.
Sure.
So yeah, it has now gotten to the point where I believe by the end of the year the Tap will be no more,
Yeah.
and there's going to be a new business opening up. There'll be some news there soon. But the space is great.
Yeah.
We really built that thing well. I love it.
Well, I love the second floor too. I mean, the first floor is just the bar, but the second floor was huge. You could do anything like that.
That kills me thinking of the second floor because we had a great concept. We had a kind of like a members only lounge.
Yeah. Okay.
And we launched it March 2020.
Yeah.
Our timing was impeccable. So about 10 minutes after we launched it, we got the call that COVID was shutting the entire world
Oh,
down.
right.
And so all the energy we had put into that private lounge dissipated.
Right. Yeah.
And so it never got off the ground. We'll see what's going to happen. Now we've got that space back.
Yeah.
And effective, a few days ago. So
Mm-hmm.
we're going to go put some energy back into it, and we'll see what that space is going to be.
Okay. Great. That's exciting. So we're sitting here in the Skinny Bar, your latest establishment, and
Yes,
what made this such an attractive property for you?
Years and years. I think maybe the first bar I ever went into was in Duarte, California. It was called
Okay.
the First Cabin,
Uh-huh.
and I walked in, and it was skinny. It was real narrow and
Yeah.
long. You walk in, there's a stage immediately to your left.
Mhm.
There's a bar on this. I said, "That's what a bar looks like."
Yeah.
And the live music, the energy in there was just.
Yeah.
The joint was packed,
Mhm.
and so I had it in my mind. As soon as I started building bars and restaurants, I'm going to replicate that. I'm going to
Yeah.
do a long, narrow bar, And but what we decided to do on this one that was different, because we built bars, we know how to build
Right.
bars, we know how to run them, and it's tons of fun. But to me, the challenge was to make it more than a bar. So we put a ton of energy and time and money into making this place as acoustically perfect as possible.
Right.
Literally every single thing in here was built with sound in mind. So
Okay.
what we did was we soundproofed the walls and the ceiling, and then every finish in here had to add to the sound. So if, for example, I wanted to do a plaster ceiling,
Yeah.
and the enemy of sound is a big smooth surface.
Right. Yeah.
It just bounces right off it. So I don't think it's in the shop, but we did a wood ceiling where each individual piece of wood has a 1/8 gap in there,
Right.
so that the sound gets up and it gets trapped in there. And so rather than just build a bar, we built a production
Right.
studio
Yeah.
essentially.
Basically.
So anytime it's open as a bar, it's awesome. It
Mhm.
feels like a bar.
Right.
And we've got the old Stagecoach back bar. That
Right.
bar was built in 1880 in
Wow,
Norway,
it's beautiful.
and it has been around the world. It's lived a bunch of lives.
Yeah.
It's got bullet holes in it. So yeah, we built it as a bar, but it's a podcast studio.
Right.
It's for stand-up comedy. It's for live music.
Mhm.
I want to start doing comedy specials in here.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was the challenge, was to make it more than a bar. And I feel like we did it, and now we get to watch it grow into whatever it grows into.
Sure. Right. Right. Well, it's an exciting venue, and there's it wasn't really easy to do this because it was a historic building. Explain the hoops you had to jump through to really get this done the way you wanted to get it done.
Yeah, we applied for Boulder City has a really cool thing called the RDA,
Right.
redevelopment area, or agency,
Agency, something like
agency,
that.
something, where if you're in basically downtown Boulder City,
Right.
they will give you money towards improving typically the front of the building.
Right.
And it's just to revitalize downtown Boulder City, and
Yeah.
it's such a cool thing. And we've done it before. And on this one, we started the process, the RDA process, and we were encouraged to apply for the historic RDA, which I didn't know
Right.
was a thing. What I learned was, rather than an RDA where you can completely change the front of the building, you can change the facade and the
Right.
sign, the historic grant was to try and make it as keep it, either restore it to its original status, or protect it as
Right.
it was. So we really embraced the process, and for example, we were going to do a bigger parapet wall on the top. They said,
Yeah.
we want you to keep it the same. We said, you got it. They said, don't touch the arches. You got it. Keep the front door. Literally every single thing they requested,
Yeah.
we said, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we got rejected. So I couldn't figure it out. Well, yeah, come to find out, we were the first group ever to apply for the historic grant, and it's no secret that the former mayor he had it out for me.
Yeah.
So, but I wasn't deterred. Immediately after we were rejected, like 3 months later,
Mhm.
there was a new council coming.
Yeah.
And I felt like at that point, I could have just abandoned the historic. I
Sure.
could have gotten the regular RDA, changed my plans. But I'm like, no, I really feel good about keeping this thing historic.
Right.
I had embraced it. So we reapplied under the new council. We were immediately approved. And which, thank you to the city of Boulder City. That grant really helped us to build what we built. It was
Right.
not cheap.
Right. No.
And we kept it original. We really did
Sure.
embrace the history, and I think it's a cool thing. I really do appreciate Boulder City for preserving history.
Sure. Well, what was the space before it was a skinny bar?
It-
I'm forgetting. I know it was something.
Immediately before, it was Back in Time
Well,
antique
right.
store.
Yeah.
Yeah, Glenna Dunn owned it forever. She was awesome,
Right.
and she opened up her. She basically moved this over by the bowling alley.
Uh-huh.
Before that, I think it was Rosie's Cantina, but originally it was a laundromat.
Yeah.
So typically when we go to work on a building and we gut it, we look at the bones,
Sure.
and anything that's cool, we try to honor it and
Right.
showcase it. This was the most utilitarian build. This was the most boring building you've ever seen. There was literally nothing cool about it.
Right.
There was nothing salvageable. We
Yeah.
essentially bought like 3 walls.
Yeah.
and a roof
Yeah.
because we ripped the back of it off and extended it. So yeah, it was a massive, massive project, but and I'm really fortunate to partner with my dad on
Yeah.
everything we do.
Sure.
Because I think if left to my own devices, I scrutinize every detail and it takes me
Right.
forever to
Yeah.
get done. And my dad is like the motor that keeps us going.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a really, really talented guy and a really
Sure.
awesome builder. And we balance each other out because he's the gas pedal and I'm
Yeah.
like, whoa, hold on. We can do this cooler, you know?
Usually it's the other way around. The younger one is the one who wants to go fast, and the father, but
No, my dad looks at it like, here's what's on paper.
Right.
This is what we're going to build.
Right.
And I look at it like, here's what's on paper. That's a pretty good starting point. Now let's get into it. And
Right.
we might change some stuff, or we might have to go backwards every once in a while. But once you're in the process, to me, you don't get a second crack at it.
Sure.
Once you've built it, you're not going to go back and, and make changes or fix it. So during the process, if we have to halt everything and send all the workers home
Right.
and back up and make changes, that's what we do because when you get an opportunity to build something really cool,
Yeah.
I just feel like you should go all in.
Well, it looks like it has always been here. It looks like it's original. So a great job there.
Hey, thank you. That was the goal. I wanted it to feel
Yeah.
old on day one.
Right. Definitely. So here you are in downtown Boulder City. The whole area is burgeoning. You have your neighbor Hangar 502, which opened last spring. You have the continuing to be open brew pub. Thank goodness they were saved. And then you have the other restaurants up and down the strip here. And I don't want to leave any out. So you got Beer Zombies, you got Big T's and Jack's and Tony's. So it's a real burgeoning place.
You got the Damn Roast House.
That's right. Yep.
You got the Boulder City,
Boulder
the company
City
store.
Like they're
Yeah,
doing a great burlesque thing, I hear.
Yeah, that's right. Casa Don Quixote. There's Cornish Pasty.
Right.
I feel like they've really leveled us up. They've
Yeah.
really stepped up the game in Boulder City. I'm really appreciative to have them. They're a bigger name,
Yeah.
and they took a risk on Boulder City, and I
Yeah.
hope it's paying off. But they're cool, man. I
Yeah.
dig them.
Yeah. No,
So yeah, Boulder City. For the longest time, I felt like, we built the Dillinger,
Right.
and I felt like Milo's started the whole thing off.
Right.
Milo's
Well, let's talk about Milo.
Milo's the man.
Yeah.
He's the first person to really invest some money
Right.
into the ambiance.
Right.
And pretty much everyone else, it's drywall. You paint it.
Right.
You hang a few pictures on the wall, and then you start slinging food.
Right.
And he spent some money, and he brought in nicer wine and higher level of food. So when we opened the Dillinger, and we went really, I would say, aggressive as far as like the kind of industrial aesthetic,
Right.
which I remember my sister walked in, she looked at the space before there was any art on the walls. She saw the gray walls, the black ceiling,
Right.
and she said, "This is the most depressing room I've ever been in." And I was like, "Oh shit, what have I done?"
Yeah.
But now once we filled it in with bottles on the wall
sure.
and art and people, I think it feels really warm. And then we did Forge, and then we did the tap, and I felt like, man, when is someone else going to come bring
Right,
some
sure,
energy
yeah,
to this town,
yeah.
because it needs it. It just
Yeah.
felt like it deserves it. And it felt like all at once, the Cantina, the Damn Roast House,
Right. Yeah.
now the Hangar, all of them, they really have stepped the game up.
Right.
And I feel like we've hit the tipping point.
Yeah.
Now there's live, you can go on a Wednesday night in Boulder City, there's live music.
Sure.
There's energy. This place used to roll it up by 8 p.m.
Right.
and it was a sleepy old town. And now the Boulder City is Boulder City, and it's just the beginning. I don't think
Yeah.
people understand what's coming.
No.
but
No. And there's a lot of people coming up from Vegas to go to Boulder City for nightlife. Which is what?
stay the weekend.
Yeah. Right.
It was what was the slogan for Boulder City? A world away for a day.
Right.
Why a day? Like,
Yeah. Right.
stay the night.
Yeah.
If I owned a hotel and I'd be like, your slogan is a world away for a day,
Yeah. Right.
we're in the, sleep over a couple nights. So
Right.
yeah, I think it's a great place for a staycation, and we're seeing a lot of it.
Right. Right. So, do you think that the city is doing enough to attract new businesses and actually make the businesses that are here successful?
If you would ask me this question 10 years, 15 years ago,
Yeah.
10 years ago,
Yeah.
2 years ago, a few months ago, I would have said absolutely not.
Yeah.
It maybe within the last year or two,
Mhm.
the new city council is very business friendly.
Right.
They're really going out of their way. I used to offer to every city manager, every mayor, every council member,
Mhm.
call me anytime.
Yeah.
And my phone never rang.
Yeah.
For a decade, my phone didn't ring. And lately, they've been calling and offering to partner on things, and really just the city now. For example, the with our RDA grant,
Right.
it expired at a certain point. So they called me saying, "Hey, your grant is going to expire. What can we do to help you get your money spent so you can recoup all the the grant money?" And that would not have happened that wouldn't have happened 5 years ago. No
Yeah.
way. So they're doing a lot better job. Jill Lagan from the chamber is a
She
monster
is.
in the
She's
best
amazing.
possible
Yeah.
way. She's super smart. We're really lucky to have her.
Mhm.
So Boulder City is I feel like it's about to be it's becoming unstoppable.
Right, right. Well, this new adventure park they're bringing in down there, I think that's going to be a great addition to town as well.
Where else can you go in Boulder City? You can go 100 miles an hour on the water,
Hmm.
in the desert. You can skydive. You can golf. You can. The mountain biking is tremendous.
Yeah.
You're you're so close to everything. We have such. I was just going to mention one other thing, but I don't want to because I really enjoy it, and I don't
Yeah.
want too many people to
Right,
find
right.
it. So I'm going to keep that one to myself. But there's a lot of really fun things to do in Boulder City,
Yeah.
and people are finding us.
Yeah, for sure, no question about it. So let's talk about some of the events they have in Boulder City. Obviously, you've got the block party thing, and but there's I think the King of the Hill is Art in the Park in October, which always draws 100,000 people to
100,000
town.
people.
Spring Jamboree, the Worst Fest, and I could go on and on. Would you support the city kind of bringing in more of those type of events?
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, they are proposing now right here in front of Skinny Bar.
Hmm.
They are proposing putting in gates that can be closed relatively easily and do kind of what we do in front of the Dillinger,
Right.
where we block down Arizona Street. And you could do that and have farmers markets. You could do a music festival.
Yeah.
You could do like a Christmas fair or any number of events.
Sure.
I really encourage it because we make our money. Business owners in Boulder City, we survive during the week,
Right.
and then we make our money in the weekends.
Mhm.
We survive. Most of us barely survive the summer, and then we get healthy, around this time of
Sure.
year.
Right.
If there were a mechanism to allow for, like, for example, what I proposed is in the summer, let's call it hot August nights. Let's
Right.
shut the street down in Nevada Way, and let's bring in some of those massive swamp coolers, and let's invite people from Vegas to
Yeah.
come out and embrace it rather than
Right.
find a way to just
Get
like
away from
hunker down and
Yeah.
hide for the summer.
Yeah.
Let's make it, come on out.
Yeah.
We're here. Let's put some energy into it. And rather than lose your ass in the summer, like pretty much every business does,
Right. Sure.
maybe other than, I think maybe the kayaks business,
Yeah.
I'm sure
Right.
they do well, but even then it's
Yeah.
brutal hot.
Yeah.
So we need to combat it. So I think the cities, they're way more open-minded than they've ever been.
Right.
I used to throw ideas out and it felt like you might as well they went into the abyss.
Yeah.
Now I feel like we're, whatever has changed with the leadership,
Mhm.
they're really embracing more energy in Boulder City.
Right.
And I'm really, really looking forward to the future.
Yeah. No question about that. Well, Grant, it's been great to talk to you. This is a fantastic venue. Everybody, come on down and come to the Skinny Bar and enjoy your favorite drink and talk and listen to some great music or some great comedians. So, thanks for taking the time, and we're really anxious to see this really take off.
Roger, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.